Hi, I'm Claude Whitacre. I'm a business owner, a speaker. I give seminars on sales subjects and on advertising and on internet marketing. And today I'm going to talk to you about a question I get a lot of times from audiences, or when I'm talking to somebody over the phone. They'll say, Claude, how many times do you make a sales call before you give up? In other words, how many times do you contact and talk to that client or that prospective client before you finally give up? Well, the answer is really one time. I talk to them one time. And here's why. I used to call people over and over and over and over again. I'd do a presentation and they'd say, well, let's think about it. You know, we need to get back to you. I need to talk to this other guy. This other thing is happening. Call me back in a month. And I would call them back over and over and over again. Do those people buy? Occasionally. Okay. I found that if I do one presentation and I just put it all on the line on one presentation, about 80% of the time that I show a product to them, they buy. About 20% of the time that they don't. But the 20% of the time that they don't, if I continued bothering all of those people until they just told me stop bothering me, eventually I'd sell maybe one more person. Okay? Because I have, and people have bought. But I'm bothering the other 19 to sell that one. And you know what? My time is better invested just talking to a new prospect. And I've heard this. Somebody says, well, I read that it takes 5 sales presentations, the average 5 sales calls before somebody buys. Here's where that came from. In the 1950s, there was an advertising agency that had a focus group that they hired to look at a product. And they found out that it took an average of 5 times for somebody to see a brand name before they actually remembered the brand name. That's it. That's all it is. So that became 5 closing attempts before they buy. It became 5 times somebody has to see your ad before they buy. It became 5 sales calls before they buy. All of that is nonsense. You know, when you see a presentation, at the end of the presentation, you already know if you want it or not. Here's a question I have for you. When you hear a joke, how many times do you have to hear it before you realize if it's funny or not? 1. How many times do you have to see a movie before at the end of the movie you can say, I like the movie, or I don't like the movie? How many times do you have to watch that movie? 1. They see the presentation. They know, your customer knows before the end of the presentation whether they want it or not. Sometimes, though, unfortunately, customers are very nice people and they don't want to hurt your feelings. So they'll, instead of saying no, which is a very rare thing for somebody to just say is just no, people don't like to say no. So they'll say something like, well, you know, I'm going to think about this. This is a real good idea. I'll get back to you now. What are your hours, and how can I call you, and where will you be next week, and now at the end of the month I'm going to find out if I get this bonus, or I'm going to find out if I get laid off, or I'm going to talk to this other supplier, I'm going to talk to my lawyer or my brother-in-law, and we'll get back to you. Okay, that's really just a way of saying no. If they really wanted it, they would just say yes. So I just do one call and they buy at the end of the one call. And I make sure that they know everything that they need to know to make that decision by the end of that first call. Okay? If you'd like to know more, I wrote the book, One Call Closing. And you can get it on Amazon, and it's, I think, $4. So if you go to Amazon.com and follow the link that's at the bottom of the video or in the description of the video, I would love to have you buy my book. Okay? Thank you.